welcome everyone for joining with us on tonight. Thank you for adjusting your schedules as we move the meeting up a couple of days in order to meet with some deadlines in order to complete some of our work. So first and foremost, welcome to everyone. I thank you for logging in and connecting with us. I'd just like to do something before we get into our meeting. We've had some community members, some members of our community who have contracted COVID-19, and some who are recovering, some who are still in the hospital. I'd like to just take a moment to honor them, a moment of silence to honor them, and to let them know that they are in our hearts and in our thoughts and in our prayers. So if we can do that for a moment, and then we'll start our meeting. Amen. Thank you. So welcome again. Thank you for joining with us for our June meeting. We'd like to move right to our agenda with the adoption of the minutes. You have received the minutes. I hope you've had time to review them. I do want to note one change that has already been suggested prior to considering the minutes for adoption, and that is that the header needs to be changed to show that the meeting was a virtual meeting held on Zoom, and that it was our May meeting rather than the March meeting. And so noting that change, unless there are any other changes, the chair will adopt a motion to accept the minutes with the noted changes.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to accept the May minutes as presented with the noted changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. I want to follow up on our next agenda item. In our last meeting, we talked about the hold harmless and the impact that the hold harmless provision was presenting to us, and that we would draft a letter and send that letter on to the county executive, county chair, and the state delegations to present our position and how we felt the impact of the hold harmless provision was on the local impact grant and VLT funds. That letter was completed and sent. You all received a copy of it. To date, we have not yet received a response or any response. So we are going to inquire about that and to see. We know the letter was sent, but we want to make sure and see if there's any additional information that may be required from us. That letter was sent on the 29th, and to see if there's any response or question in regards to that. I did ask, were there any changes, any noted changes in position in terms of how those funds, the hold harmless provision on the VLT funds as it stands, and not the response I received that there have been no changes to that position. And so we're still faced with that challenge. Any comments or concerns in that regard? Okay, so it's still an issue. We hope that our elected officials will continue to keep us apprised of what's going on and let us know if there's anything that we can do to push that forward. Okay, so moving right to the main portion of our agenda, the FY20 Local Impact Grant Update. I want to, you were sent a memorandum of recommendation this afternoon, this afternoon, with the recommendations from the committee, from the subcommittee. And so I'd like to open it up for Chair Larkin to, if she wants to give us any updates before we adopt these recommendations or review these recommendations. Ms. Mary?
There were 2 sets of readings, subcommittees that read proposals. The first read 13 and the remainder, there were a total of 25 proposals that qualified to be read. Of those 25, 19 of them were recommended for funding. The funding total, we received information that the amount of money we had available was $750,000. The committees and the grants totaled $744,066. I particularly like to thank all of the committee members who diligently read proposals, participated in conference calls, rated each one of the set that they were given, and particularly Kimberly Hall and Audrey read all 25 of the proposals. So I'd like to just thank everyone for their dedication and commitment.
Wonderful. Can we, I'd like to echo Mary's sentiments and thank you all for a wonderful job. Well done for stepping above, going above and beyond with I know we're a volunteer organization and you all met some challenges and some opposition, some challenges and some issues head on, and you did a wonderful job in getting this done with the time frames that we were given. And so a big round of applause to the program priorities, programs and budget subcommittee and all the readers that helped with this process. Job well done. So can we celebrate them and applaud them? I don't know how we do it on this, with hands or applause, but however you choose to do it, can we give them a big applause? They did a wonderful job, and I'm so grateful for the work and the time that you put in. And I'm looking forward to the constant work toward improving the process and making the process work. And again, wonderful, so much, as you look at the recommendations, a wide array of organizations and areas that will be impacted, areas of service that will be impacted and funded, and $744,006. Wonderful job. Again, job well done. Any questions before you receive the yes, ma'am.
I probably should know this, so I apologize, Mr. Chairman, but so out of the folks who are receiving, is there a cyclical type of, when they receive these grants, is there a cyclical process where if you received it once, you got to go through it, you can't get it in the second round or third round? Can someone clarify that? Like, have any of these, since I don't have the past recipients in front of me, have any of these been recipients before?
As I look at the list, I recognize a couple of the names they may have. I think there were no, there are a couple of folks on here. In fact, there are a few that have received awards before. The only stipulation is that they have kept up with their reporting on the previous cycles, that they continue to provide the service in the impact zone, impact area, and that they submit a viable application. And many of these organizations that have been funded for a second time are organizations that continue to do good work and great work. And I think it's the committee's thought that to help them to continue that work.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Reverend Chandler, I just was going to add that I thought this year's set of applicants was very well put together, generally speaking. I mean, there were some outliers and things like that, but some of the lessons learned and feedback that we wanted to put out into the community with the hopes that applicants would hear that and sort of adhere to changes, best practices, things like that. So I think some of the work that we've done, at least it seemed like just better quality in terms of the applications themselves. There's still work to do. We still have more suggestions and feedback and things like that, but I think it's definitely moving in the right direction.
Wonderful, and thank you again, Ms. Hall. And so, yes, we are looking forward to, once we get these processed through, I don't know to what limit or to what capacity we'll be able to do a formal award ceremony. I don't know how that would work out. Maybe we have to do like everyone else and find some virtual way to recognize the recipients, but I'm sure we have the technology and the creative ability to be able to do that. But once we get through that, like we do every year, we hit the ground running to see how we can improve the process and how we can advance the. I look forward to feedback and toward can improve the process and the collaborative effort with the LDC and the county staff that's working with us. With that being said, there are no other questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm clear on this, all these 19 people, I guess I'm talking to Miss Mary. These people have, I mean, out of 25, you said, we got 19 funded. Did you notify the other people that was not qualified in this second round? Because this is the second round, correct? And the 19 people was notified already in writing, and the other ones that was not accepted this time around, they've been notified?
The committee itself does not notify people. That is the responsibility of the office of the county exec liaison. So but however, of the 25, they just received the names of the funded ones and unfunded ones this morning.
Oh, this morning.
So I doubt very seriously if the ones that they just received have been notified. I don't know about the other ones.
So the process is, once we ratify this recommendation, it'll be forwarded on to the Office of Management and Budget, and then they will take it from there in terms of notifying the awardees and notifying those who were not recommended for award, as well as notifying those awardees who have other other stipulations that have to be completed, or in addition to, like, memos of understanding and that sort of thing. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
Reverend
All right.
Chandler,
Yes, sir.
I had just some general questions, but I will reserve most of them. I'll just ask the one. That's with regard to one of the proposed applicants. The library. Is that work to be done at the Oxon Hill Library?
And while we're not supposed to be discussing specifics at this meeting, the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So having received the recommendation and the memo of recommendations from the subcommittee, and the memo from the chair and the subcommittee chair, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the recommendations as submitted.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the recommendations for the 19 grant applications to be funded.
A second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt the recommendations for funding for the FY20 grant awardees, the 19 awardees. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. We will forward this information on to the Office of Management and Budget and move the process forward. And then we will see to what capacity we can have our award ceremony. We had a wonderful award ceremony last year at MGM, but unfortunately, where we are right now, that does not appear to be an option. But I'm sure with all of these wonderful creative minds, we will be able to come up with a way to do so, even if we have to do so virtually. So thank you all. And again, job well done to the subcommittee and all those who assisted with reading the applications. I do certainly appreciate you, appreciate your efforts and the great work that has been done. Moving on to new business, I just wanted to ask our elected officials and ask Mr. Middleton if you are aware of any pending legislation that has happened since our last meeting that may somehow impact the local development council and the funds to which we are responsible.
I have not heard any, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Speaking from the perspective of the county council, I conferred with Terry Bell, our liaison, earlier today, and she said that there is no pending legislation that she is aware of.
Okay, thank you. And then one other thing that I have, one of our previous awardees, Chef, has a new quarantine healthy cookbook coming out for children. And so I just wanted to honor them and celebrate them for continuing to do great things. We funded them last year, and she has an announcement. She's a new author of a quarantine kids cookbook, which was birthed while we were all in quarantine. It's a kid-friendly cookbook, and to help mothers and homes with teleworking and homeschooling to prepare healthy meals for their children. So we will pass that information on to our website so that we can help to honor those that who continue to do great work in our community. With that, are any other comments? So yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question that I'd like the record to show. I'd like for the county exec's office to get back to us and tell us what kind of accommodations will be made. Those grants that were written pre-pandemic, and so there will necessarily need to be adjustments to them based on the current situation. I don't know what those adjustments will be, whether they will be time adjustments, whether they'll be outcome adjustments. But when we read and we submitted, that was with the assumption that there was no pandemic. Now we know that didn't happen. That was unrealistic. So I'd like for them to be able to report back to us to say, now what? What will the grantees be expected to do? What will they not be expected to do? That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Reverend Chandler.
Yes, ma'am.
Senator Patterson said, can y'all unmute him, please, or whatever? He wants to say something. He said he can't
unmute himself.
Yeah, we
camera.
We're not controlling it.
He can unmute it himself.
He said he can't.
He got it.
I've used the system before. I know how to use it. I cannot, for some reason today, I can't. Let me try.
You got it.
Unmuted. You were unmuted then. We heard you, sir.
He just muted himself.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you were unmuted. Do it again.
Unmute yourself. It's on the left-hand side.
I'm trying to hit unmute on his square, but it's not.
Okay. How
There
about
you
now?
are.
Okay,
There
there
you
you
are.
are.
There
We
it
can hear
is.
you. We can hear you.
We hear you.
I can't see y'all. I see some of it. I see Mary. That's fine.
Well, you don't need,
Push the camera. Push camera.
That's fine. Mm.
Go ahead, sir.
No, I just wanted to say earlier, and I couldn't get in, just say that, you know, this has been a learning experience for me. This is the first time I participated in the review process. And I shared a comment of Kimberly, who said that the applicants this time, apparently maybe because they've done it more than once, most of them did a very good job in completing the requirements. We still had a few that still can't seem to know that we don't need a book. We just need those 10 pages and a good evaluation. But anyway, it was fun. And I want to thank the committee members who were patient enough to let me get my feet wet to the process. So it's been a good ride. And I think we got some good candidates. My only concern is that somewhere along the line, I hope that we can get somebody either from the county level or someplace to go out in the field area and do a little check and balance. With that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mary, I will, when we send the recommendations forward, I will ask that question. I will make sure your question's included in our letter going forward to the county, recommending to ask, you know, what allowances will be made and what are the expectations in light of the pandemic. Thank you. Well, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, to address Ms. Larkin's question, I suspect we'd be able to offer an amendment similar to what we did with the FY 2019 grant recipients, where they were able to let us know what the situation was and adjust their use of funds accordingly. Still keeping those use of funds within the 3-mile radius, though.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Patricia, you had something? You're muted. You're muted.
Basically, I was going to ask, would it be similar to what we in the last meeting discussed for the FY19 grant?
Okay. All right. Well, we'll still pose the question and make sure that we're all on the same page as that moves forward. With that being said, anything else from the council before we allow for public comment or public question? I think we've asked the public to submit their questions in the chat. Anything else from the council? All right, seeing none, do we have any questions from the public who have joined us that are submitted in the chat?
There is a question.
Sure, would you present that, please?
It says, did the council discuss the nonprofits who were awarded?
Yes, we did. The recommendations that the subcommittee submitted was submitted to the LDC. The recommendations were approved and now will be submitted to the county. And once all of that has been done, the list of awardees will be listed on our website and as we move forward. And notifications will go out from the county as we submit them. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, there's one more from Mr. J. Kruger.
Sure.
How much money has the county received from the state and FY 2020 VLT local impact grant funds? How much of a shortage is there from what was projected in the spending plan? Hold on one second. I'm going to try to, buried in my millions of emails right here, but let me see if I can pull up the answer to that question. Just give me 1 second, please.
Sure, thank you. You all smile, you look so bored.
Reverend Chandler, I
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
make sure, I'm writing down everything. Could you just repeat real quickly while he's looking? What was the question again? How much money, what?
How much money did the county receive from the state?
From the state.
And what was the, and how did that impact the multi-year spending plan? What was the difference in terms of the multi-year spending plan for this year?
Okay, so I think I have the answer to part of the question. So we have, says the COVID-19 pandemic, closure of the MGM casino in March, it impacted both FY 2020 and the anticipated funds from FY 2021. And that is going to cause a projected VLT revenue decrease from $10.7 million to $0.
For 21? For FY 21?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the projected going forward for 21. I think he was asking, do we know what we received and what the deficit was for 20?
Yeah, I don't have that offhand right now. I'll have to find it, but I will get that answer for him shortly.
Okay. Mr. Krieger, we will get that answer to you as quickly as possible. And also, Shaka, would you please put online the letter, the hold harmless letter that I spoke of earlier in our meeting that was submitted, that we submitted on May the 29th, so it'll be a part of the public record and be available.
Will do.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions?
I see one more question from Ellen Hall. She says, our agency never received notification of the ability to repurpose, receive an extension for our remaining grant funds for 2019. I understood at the last meeting that notification would go out to all grant awardees. We will get that to you ASAP.
Okay, yeah, it was my understanding that that distribution had taken place. Ms. Hall, thank you. We'll make sure that, again, as Mr. Middleton has said, that you receive that quickly. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you all so much for adjusting your schedule and moving up a couple of days. It was very helpful, and thank you again. I thank all of the programs, priorities, and budget subcommittee for a job well done, and all those who helped with reading and preparing the grant applications and recommendations. Again, a job well done. I am grateful and appreciate all the work you do, and for the entire council, thank you for continuing to serve and be a great representation of the volunteerism in our part of the county. And I'm grateful and appreciate each and every one of you and all of your efforts. With that being said, if there's nothing else, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Could you tell me, Mr. Chair, excuse me, around about when you think our next meeting is?
Our next meeting should be on our regularly scheduled third Wednesday of July. Are we at July already?
No.
Yeah. No, we're not. No, it will be our third Wednesday in July.
Oh, third Wednesday.
It's the 15th.
The 15th of July. Thank you, Zena.
July the 15th.
Yes. And maybe by then we may be able to properly social distance and do it in person. We'll see. We'll go by whatever the current protocols are at that time. That being said, Chair
Make a
will
motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So move.
It's been properly moved and second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Stay safe. Take care of one another. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
Good night.
Be
Good
safe.
night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.